Let me pause this. Um, I'm back. I'm back at it like a snack habit. Um, I really don't know what was on my mind. That guy, they're not coming until like 5. So I'm gonna stream this out real quick and then I'll probably go to run to the store. So I got an hour or so. I can run in the store and then I will get me make me something to eat. But let's just get through this because I wanna not get through it. I wanna show y'all something. This guy, his shit is dope. All right, his shit is dope. So I'm feeling weird without having an intro to play. I'm so used to playing an intro, and I think intros are just dope, right? Right, you agree, right? You heard me. All right, so let's get to it. So without history is the name of it. I really want to get it because I wanted to get this guy's. It's some things that I wanted to write down. All right, and I didn't, like I said, I didn't want to lay in the bed and study. I wanted to go live as well. Happy Sunday fun day to you. Happy Sunday fun day to you. All right, let's watch it. Hold on, I gotta add it in. Oh, my stomach is growling too, for real though. My shit is like. All right, let's get it. Where is that? Share screen. All right, here we go.
9500 BC. The kingdom you live in is so big that it stretches from the most western point in northern Africa all the way to Ethiopia, on the far east of Africa. Your land is green and lush.
I didn't gonna go back. Start over. Here we go.
Imagine you are the citizen of a great civilization in 9500 BC. The kingdom you live in is so big that it stretches from the most western point in northern Africa all the way to Ethiopia, on the far east of Africa. Your land is green and lush, and your crops help to feed the largest army the world has ever known. Your king is so powerful that he is named after the Atlas Mountain, and your capital city is so beautiful and so advanced that visitors call it Atlantis, beautiful land of the King Atlas. Suddenly one night, a wave of seawater taller than a skyscraper ravages through the land.
Now, right here, when you talk about King Atlas and all that, I'm sure you guys heard of all this stuff, right? I learned a lot of this stuff mentioned. First time really hearing most of it was in the Greek when I was in Greek class, in my Greek philosophy class, right? But there was a difference where, okay, was the line? The Greeks, the Egyptians, like the way they teach this stuff, it all merges. Like the way they teach this shit in school, in higher learning too. They don't really give you that timeline like that, right? And some things I guess they're not supposed to teach. But ever since I've heard this story, I've never. This is my first time really seeing it, having somebody bona fidely, boldly put a stamp of color to it. All right. And it's most times when people think about antiquity, they say, well, it doesn't matter, or whatever. Especially when you start talking about aliens, especially if you're thinking people come from different galaxies, right? Well, what race are they? You understand what I'm saying? I've heard something about three, four races that was four races. The red, brown, white, red, brown, black, and yellow. I'm not sure, but this particular one is I find very, very interesting and beautifully done.
You barely escape with your life along with a few survivors. When the water retreats, there is nothing left, no trace of your once great empire. Everything has been pulverized by a gargantuan flood of seawater and mud. All your art, buildings, and historical records are now gone forever. This engraving is chiseled into the heart of the awakened ones. those who are said to be without history, birthed civilization itself. Because of all the salt and debris from the flood, the land is now barren, and very few things will grow. After a few years, you notice that the rain cycles have changed. Where life was easy and the ground generous, you now find it hard to make it from season to season.
Now, here's where, like, again, remember I said I'm doing this study, right? I'm doing some stuff for the documentaries because ultimately, all of the studies that I've done is leading me up to this part right now, to where I am now, and this is all new now, right? This is kind of all new now, going different, getting the book of the book of Eclipse, the Epic of Gilgamesh. You feel me? Getting I gotta find those books too. Hold on, because I do want to share them out. But it's almost like I was studying it in a sense where it's almost like, well, if Jesus was black or white, that's redundant. That don't make any sense. It doesn't really matter because this we have to decipher. But what if it does? What if the Epic of Gilgamesh and all those cats? What if we are hiding the fact that we are really, because melanin has to stand for something, right? What if they're hiding the fact that this is really something, man? That we had come from an outer space race. We were genetically modified by a race of aliens, and we all know about the darker the berry, the sweeter the juice, right? So we have come down, basically downgraded. Our DNA has basically been let's just say washed out. All right. So now we have a mixed we intermingled, intermarried, and had children with so many people. We're not as dark as we once were, right? So imagine if that is it. I don't know. I'm learning this shit as I go. But what's your thoughts? Let me know. Because again, I've always heard of things like the Atlantic. I mean not the Atlantic, the Atlantia and things like that. The Great Flood, we heard of that. We heard of the deluge. That was what the Bible mimicked. Where's that sound coming from? That's what the Bible mimicked. But what if we go back further and find out these things are true, y'all? That's what I'm saying. So let's just go. Hold on.
Even all the great animals are gone. One afternoon, you hear of a great commotion outside of the cave you have been hiding in. You come out and you find a long caravan marching a distance. Happy to find signs of civilization, you rush down to them. As you get close, you notice that their clothes look like that of your people, but they are slightly different, and they speak the same language as you, but with a weird accent. And with them, you recognize people from different cities that were bordering your once great city. You ask them where they are going, and they point in one direction, east, towards the great river. They say that it is the last place that hasn't been destroyed by the waves, and that it is the only place where food still grows, but it is far. You rush to grab your things and join the caravan. A few days later, taking shade from the scorching sun, you muster enough courage to ask them what is that great river they speak of? They finally answer, the Nile.
Again, I don't want to rehash his video, but I do want you to see who he is. This channel is called this is actually the excuse me, Without History channel. I want to go to some some parts some parts on where I found very interesting. Hold on.
Of the southern ice cap. And you can see that in this 2021 paper, generous, you now find it hard to make it reason different. And they speak the same language as you, but with a weird accent. And with them, you recognize people from different cities that were bordering your once great city. You ask them where they are going, and they point in one direction, east, towards the great river. They say that it is the last place that hasn't been destroyed by the waves, and that it is the only place where food still grows, but it is far. You rush to grab your things and join the caravan. A few days later, taking shade from the scorching sun, you muster enough courage to ask them what is that great river they speak of? They finally answer, the Nile. Like many, you haven't heard of this civilization before, not because it didn't exist, not because we don't have evidence of how large and how powerful it was. It is only spoken about sometimes as Atlantis, and other times as a mythical place to make sure that any serious studies about it are dismissed. No, you haven't heard about this civilization because historians will not speak openly about them, and historians will not mention them because of their identity, because once you realize who they were, it will change your perspective on history once and for all. As archaeologists unearth evidence across the globe, it becomes increasingly clear that the ancient civilization originating from black Africans not only initiated civilization around 10,000 BC, but also extended it across Europe, Asia, and the Americas. The examination of megalithic structures worldwide reveals striking resemblances, contributing to the evidence of a highly sophisticated ancient society. This evidence suggests the existence of a civilization advanced enough to map the Earth with remarkable accuracy, master stone construction, and make significant astronomical discoveries, including the planets in our solar system.
Pause. Now, this is where I need to be. Now, damn, I need a smaller book. That book is way too big to be on my desk right now. I'm gonna use this. See these things. I want to take these notes and write these things down so I could check this stuff out myself. He actually drops a few some names. Oh my god, I need my back brace. Some names and some places. So yeah, I know I have a video of it, but when I'm laying down. All right. Let's go.
System, their movements, and even calculate the precession movement of the stars. This civilization's legacy is evident through countless clues left behind, illustrating their profound impact on the world. Their influence was widespread and long-lasting, so much so that the Greeks and the Egyptians described them as Atlantean, and they came to be venerated as gods everywhere they brought their tech.
I don't know about y'all, but that is some naughty hair. That's really naughty hair. And I've also seen another video with this brother showing this here sculpture in China, and it does look like a Chinese figurine with negroid features, naughty hair, naughty dread. All right, let's go. So I'm just saying, in antiquity, we chase our stuff back. We be like, yeah, Cleopatra was black and all this other stuff. But yo, this thing is deeper than that. It goes back to antiquity, and this is something worth learning and worth knowing. All right. So let's continue on.
Technology and way of life. But beyond the myth and the labels, these were the people to whom we owe the restart of civilization after the great catastrophe of the Younger Dryas. And today, whether we admit it or not, the evidence on...
Are you familiar with the Younger Dryas? The Younger Dryas is, well, they say that's the youngest of those catastrophes that happened. Let me get the correct term for you guys. The Younger Dryas, which occurred of 12,900 to 11,700 years BP, was a return to glacial conditions which temporarily revisited the gradual climatic warming after the last glacier maximum, which was reached from 27,000 to 20,000 years. So there you have it. All right. So then you have these glaciers and these ice catastrophes and things like that froze over, and that was the youngest of those. All right. That's when they talk about the youngest Dryas, and then they talk about it. Let's just let him talk about it.
And their identity is definitive. They left clues in the form of monuments, writings, statues, drawings, linguistic origin, ancient maps, and above all, genetics, all pointing to the same people, black Africans. All of these pieces of evidence we will cover in this video, and by doing so, rediscover our grandiose ancient history and see how it influenced the whole globe.
That's dope. Grandioso ancient history. Damn, that's flavors in your ear. It seemed dark in here. Don't it? Turn up the light. I don't know if I turn that one off. Turn this up. Here comes the brand new flavor in your ear. Time. Oh, I'm sorry. Here. Time for new.
Before we get into the evidence of who these ancients were, let's first get a sense of how sophisticated their civilization was. If you have ever heard of the Piri Reis map and the Oronteus Phineus maps, then you know that they both depict a coastline of South America before the full discovery of the continent by the Europeans. What's more intriguing is that they both depict the continent of Antarctica before the ice had been covered.
Wow.
And guess when was the last time the continent was ice-free? 6,000 years ago. So right in the middle of the Holocene, about 6,000 years ago,
Another
there was a sudden increase in global temperature.
this dude is giving you some receipts here, right? Geological research letter. Geophysical geophysical research letter. What is advanced earth and what is that? Advanced earth AGU. So y'all see how I'll get to do my research for things. A little bit, let you a little bit in my world, baby. All right, let's go.
So right in the middle of the Holocene, about 6,000 years ago, there was a sudden increase in global temperature that was also observed in a very sudden retreat of the southern ice cap. And you can see that in this 2021 paper by Dominic Winsky from the University of Maine. More research is emerging on that period of rapid ice sheet retreat. But for me, it isn't the presence of Antarctica that is the most surprising, but it is the fact that these maps show an excellent system of latitude and longitude. These medieval maps are all said to reference the Ptolemaic maps. If you take a look at this map, you can see it, and it is in fact a better proportional representation of the Earth. Notice how the longitudinal lines diverge. Well, this is how it is supposed to be because the Earth is round. So that means whoever made this map knew that the Earth was round, but also devised an accurate system of pinpointing the location of anything on the globe. A system, I might add, that we still use today. When you look at our maps today, our latitude and longitude system is biased because it heavily distorts the countries in the northern hemisphere to the disfavor of the countries at the equator. This is why the distance from Moscow to Beijing looks about twice the size of the distance from Mauritania to Ethiopia. And yet, in reality, they are exactly the same. So did the Greek invent this mapping system? Clearly not. They took it from the Africans when they settled in Egypt.
See, and it was right before me watching this video that I was like trying to in my head, work this timeline in my head, things that I've learned here and things that I've learned there. But only until you write this shit down and really, well, I'm like that. I have to learn like that, tangibly see the difference and where they fall, because they won't. You never heard this in school, so just deal with it.
So someone had the technology to navigate the globe during the Holocene, mapped it out with precision, and left us records of it. And to know who they were, we need to go back to the beginning of civilization. Because of the large amount of evidence we have to present, we will break down the video in 3 major parts. First, we'll deal with the scientific search and evidence showing the ethnicity of the originator as black Africans. Starting in 10,000 BC with the Natufians and the inventors of agriculture and the builders of Göbekli Tepe.
That's what I wanted. Now, if you've seen the show that I cut off earlier, Göbekli Tepe. Billy Carson talks about that a lot. He goes out there. He's been back and forth like through to these ancient pyramids. I definitely wanted to know the name of that. I'll be talking and I'll be forgetting, y'all. Hold on. I got to get the name of that.
Scientific search and evidence showing the ethnicity of the originator as black Africans. Starting in 10,000 BC with the Natufians and the inventors of agriculture.
Natufians, that was the name I was looking for. All right, let's go. Excuse me.
and the builders of Göbekli Tepe, and the great lost civilization of the ancient Sahara. To the Nubia-Kemetic civilization that we call today ancient Egypt, to the Sumerians, culture holders who spread these know-hows. Then we will share the evidence that shows that these originators spread their knowledge all over the globe in multiple colonies and civilizations that we call classical civilizations. Here again, the hands of the Africans are clearly shown with all too similar techniques and cultural icons present in all sorts of civilizations in the Bronze Age, including the early Greek, the Etruscans, the originators of the Roman civilization, the Chinese civilization, and the Olmecs.
I tell you, if this Joker is not talking cocky and bold and saying it like it is, he said the Olmecs. Hey, hold on, let him run those civilizations down again.
Are clearly shown with all too similar techniques and cultural icons present in all sorts of civilizations in the Bronze Age, including the early Greek, the Etruscans, the originators of the Roman civilization, the Chinese civilization, and the Olmecs, the Mother High culture in Mesoamerica. Lastly, we will see how long this civilization lasted, and how their descendants after the Bronze Age spawned yet more civilizations throughout ancient times.
All right, oh wait, I'll pause with it.
From the Olmecs, the Chinese, the civilizations in the Pacific, the Garamantes, to the Carthaginians, to Benin, the Ghana Empire. Major thanks to Camgiverse for his invaluable research contribution. His channel is a must for all Afro descendants. As in all of our videos, we cite our sources and provide additional source material in the video description. It all started with the oldest builders, a people who for the longest time we thought were primitive.
Pause. That's another reason I like this brother. So this is his channel, y'all. His name, I don't know his name. The channel is called Without History. I subscribed. You guys should put the bell on. Thumbs up that video. He usually gives his sources right down here. Everything he talks about, he states his sources, which is pretty dope. I'm taking out of my vocabulary, but I wanted you to take a look at that. Take a look at his logo there, so you can go ahead and give him a follow.
And we are now discovering that they were anything but. Now,
I don't want to stream. I'm streaming a lot.
Whether or not there was a great civilization,
I really wanted to grab some of these names. This is what I was studying. So you just
age and the younger dry
just happen to see me study live. That's all. Okay.
fires, along with the rapid flash flood and current changes, created a very fertile soil in the region of the Near East, the Fertile Crescent. And it is this soil, along with a now very favorable climate for humans, coupled with a lack of large predators in a 5 paper, where they showed that Natufians had clear too. A myriad of tools, never seen before in the archaeological record, suddenly appear with the invention of agriculture. Sickle and flint blades, stone mortar and pestles, containers to ferment grain for beer. And this is what researchers from the University of Michigan confirmed in the 2005 paper, where they showed that Natufians had clear sub-Saharan African linkage. And I quote, "It is a further surprise that the epoch started to domesticate plants."
Oh shit, I ain't mean to do that shit. Man,
they brought in one element that would benefit the humans, that coupled with a lack of large predators, Natufian of Israel, from whom the Nile exploded overnight. But their sophistication increased too. A myriad of
Natufians, I spelled it wrong. Natufian. Okay.
tools, never seen before in the archaeological record, suddenly appear with the invention of agriculture. Sickle and flint blades, stone mortar and pestles, containers to ferment grain for beer. And this is what researchers from the University of Michigan confirmed.
The University of Michigan, huh? The questionable contribution of the Neolithic and Bronze Age to European craniofacial form. Wow.
in the 2005 paper
2005 paper, University of Michigan. Let me check that out. Michigan, and the title, the questionable, the questionable contribution. Okay, I can go now.
where they showed that Natufians had clear sub-Saharan African linkage. And I quote, "It is a further surprise that the Epipaleolithic Natufian of Israel, from whom the Neolithic realm was assumed to arise, has a clear link to sub-Saharan Africa." End quote. They also go on to reveal one of the most telling facts about the Natufian language, and it is that in their linguistic proximity analysis, Natufian more closely resembles the Niger-Congo language family. And this is in line with multiple other data points that clearly show that the Natufians were an advanced Black African culture. There are plenty of scholarly articles that validate this fact. I won't cite them all. But here is one interesting publication from the New York Times nonetheless, where the Natufians are described as a Negroid people by Sir Arthur, with wide faces, flat noses, and long, large heads. Skeletal remains of those practicing the Natufian culture date from the transition from the Neolithic to the Paleolithic. The Natufians were of medium stature. Their skull
Natufians. Now let me see. Let me Google this real quick. A little soft search. Hmm. Well, folks, you want to see what I see when I show you Natufians? I'll show you what I see. I see all this when I just do a soft search on Natufians. I don't know why they got that up in there, but I guess the same reason they got that up in there. But that, I think, was an actual sculpture found, right? Wow. Have you ever heard of Natufians? But did you hear that? They actually did a study on the DNA. And if you didn't, hear it again.
It is a further surprise that the Epipaleolithic Natufian of Israel, from whom the Neolithic realm was assumed to arise, has a clear link to sub-Saharan Africa. End quote. They also go on to reveal one of the most telling facts about the Natufian language, and it is that in their linguistic proximity analysis, Natufian more closely resembles the Niger-Congo language family. And this is in line with multiple other data points that clearly show that the Natufians were an advanced Black African culture. There are plenty of scholarly articles that validate this fact. I won't cite them all. But here is one interesting publication from the New York Times nonetheless, where the Natufians are described as a Negroid people by Sir Arthur, with wide faces, flat noses, and long, large heads. Skeletal remains of those practicing the Natufian culture date from the transition from the Neolithic to the Paleolithic. The Natufians were of medium stature. Their skulls were also dolichocephalic, with broad, short faces and a tendency towards prognathism. This was clarified in the book Paleopathology and the Origins of Agriculture by Mark Nathan Cohen and George G. Amalagus. Both dolichocephaly and prognathism are key traits of African populations. Dr. Iosef Lizaridis and Dr. Nathan Rowland from Harvard performed extensive genetic tests on Natufian archaeological remains, and this is what they found. Natufians had clear African DNA markers without any Neanderthal admixture.
There it is. There it is. And there it is. Ladies and gentlemen, there it is. They have said it. They have said it. And why don't you believe it your own self? They said it, man. They said
Said it, man. Why you don't believe it yourself? They said it.
yo. Okay, there it go. I was about to talk some cash money shit. That's probably why I wasn't working. But they
Said it. They said it. Y'all gotta learn to believe it, man. Learn to believe it, man. They said it. Let them say it again. Without any Neanderthal admixture.
Liz Aretas and Dr. Nathan Rowland from Harvard performed extensive genetic tests on Natufian archaeological remains, and this is what they found. Natufians had clear African DNA markers without any Neanderthal admixture, and where before the Natufians had been denied the building of Göbekli Tepe because it was thought as too advanced, Dr. Gil Hackley and Dr. Avi Gopher in their 2015 paper have clearly shown that Natufians were building temples with superb architectural planning and that they were the only people with enough specialization to do so. But he is not alone. Researcher Dr. Dorothy Garrett attests that the Natufians who were living in the Middle East since 13,000 BC would have been behind the construction of Göbekli Tepe, soon after the Holocene period began. So our Natufians, who speak a Niger-Congo language and have black African phenotype and genes, created the first known megalithic superstructure in history.
Now, why I never heard of the Natufians ever? Why? If I have, I'll tell you. If I heard of the Natufians, I've heard of them from shout out to brother Ankh. I've heard at them. I heard of them from the brother Ankh. But other than this guy here, in all the studies I've been through, and how many shoulders I've rubbed against, no one has ever told me about the Natufians. So I'm thankful to learn this good old. Actually, I learned it a day or two before today, but I was finishing watching this guy's channel. But this guy has a lot of stuff that I've learned that he takes it. He actually pulls it all the way back. He don't just stop at Jesus was a black man. You understand what I'm saying? He goes into the cradle of civilization and the passing down of kingship. All right, which is kind of dope. So I'm not just taking this gentleman's word for it. I'm writing some things down to further my studies, and a few of these things can also be helpful in my documentary. You dig? Let's continue on.
One that has themes and relics that appear in multiple other subsequent civilizations. And if Göbekli Tepe is any indication, the Natufians were very sophisticated. In Göbekli Tepe, they show that they had knowledge of so many sciences, mathematics, architecture, astronomy, just to name a few. In fact, all this information adds up because we already know that Africans were performing advanced mathematics 25,000 years ago with the Ashango bone. The bone shows mastery of prime.
Pause. The Ashango bone. It's another thing I've never heard of. Have you guys heard of the Ashango bone? Let me know in the chat if you've heard of the Ashango bone. Damn, I need my back brace, y'all. This shit is bad. It's hurting too. The Ashango bone is way over there. Hold on. I've never heard of the Ashango bone. I swear. See what public school gets you? Public school gets you nowhere, boy. I ain't gonna say that, but that damn public education we got. I got something on the TV right now. Some antiquity information. Yeah, man, because I think I'm wearing this wrong. Ugh. 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 Damn. Horrible. Okay. Phew. This is not really a brace, but it helps me, keeps my posture in mind when I'm sitting here like this because it's so easy to slouch. And I've had so many stomach surgeries where I've conditioned I had programmed my body at one point to I used to run a program with my body that will always be doubled over. And I didn't know that I was protecting that was a protectant from my stomach because my stomach was always I always had stomach injuries and oh shit. I always had stomach injuries and I've had over 8 stomach surgeries. So 10 surgeries in total, 8 stomach surgeries. All right. So that's what this here thing is going to be helpful for. All right. So let's get back. Have you ever heard of this bone though? I said I have never. So let's check it out.
Prime numbers, multiplications, division, and even relationships between prime numbers. Relationships that we just rediscovered and understood recently. And guess where the Ashango bone was found? You guessed it, in the Niger-Congo
Oh, wait,
area,
wait, 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 wait,
which
wait, wait,
matches the
wait.
language 5,000 years
I
ago.
gotta write this down. I ain't write it down. The Shango bone. Yeah, I've never heard of this. Iyango. What is it? Iyang Ihango bone. Ihango bone. Yeah, the ice cream truck out there selling damn cow milk. Ain't that crazy? Like with all this stuff we know now, is there an ice cream truck that's an idea for somebody? That's Spectrum, y'all. Hola.
Peace is on the way and is scheduled to arrive today, April 7th, between 4 p.m. and 5 p.m. at 1250 North Kingsley Drive. Appointments on average take between 1 and 3 hours. Make sure someone over the age of 18 with a valid government-issued
They
ID
just gave
is
my
present
address,
for the
y'all.
appointment.
Send
To
me a
get
gift.
updated information and track estimated arrival time, please visit spectrum.net/track.
I gotta track it. Just call me. They gonna call. He did say they gonna call me again. All right. So I got that one written. Let's go.
With the Ashango bone. The bone shows mastery of prime numbers, multiplications, division, and even relationships between prime numbers. Relationships that we just rediscovered and understood recently. And guess where the Ashango bone was found? You guessed it, in the Niger-Congo area, which matches the language spoken by the Natufians. They were also performing burial practices similar to the ones found in ancient Egypt.
Now
They were so sophisticated that they performed a very
it slows. It goes down. It has a genuine sound. That sound goes down. Hold on. Let me get this Natufian settlement. All right. I wanted to get these words out. That's really what I wanted, y'all. Hold on. These guys should be coming in.
built one of the most astonishing celestial observatories called Nabta Playa. This monument shares many characteristics with Göbekli Tepe. Hunter Dreyer of the German Archaeological Institute clearly demonstrates that the Africans from Kemet were the first to use writing before the Sumerians inherited the concept. But they would also create some of the most enduring monuments in ancient times, all of them built out of stone. And aside from the pyramids and the Sphinx, one of the most enigmatic and complex structures ever built is the Osirian, which is found below the temple of Seti I. This temple has dimensions and properties that are simply, well, there is no other term to describe it. Its dimensions and properties are Atlantean.
See, man, we ain't never heard of this. You heard of Egyptian and you heard of the Sphinx and all that. This cat said Atlantean. Let's watch.
This is an underground complex with a 15-meter moat and a hollow center island. Truly deserves to be open to be studied more.
Right, deserves to be, but they're not gonna do it, are they? That's why I'm telling you, we all got to know about everything. Everybody, then you find the right people and then put that shit together and make something happen. Um, how is it that 1% of the world is toppling over I mean, it's just ruling everything, and it's because of our belief system. I call it the BS. It's because of our BS, the belief system. You feel me? We need to check our BS for real, and they got us at everywhere we turn. That's why when you find somebody and when you pick your head up from watching the nonsense, find somebody like this guy here, um, without history. Follow his channel. I haven't joined, but I did subscribe. Dope stuff. All right, let's continue.
Take a look at this 3D reconstruction of its architecture. Notice also how massive each of the stone pillars are. There are countless genetic and archaeological studies that have shown that the people from the Nubio-Kemetic civilization complex were black African. We will just name a few. In her research paper, Dr. Katrin Bard attests to the origin of complex society in Kemet from the south. In fact, Dr. David Okenor goes further and complements that argument with his own research on prehistoric Kemet between 5000 and 3000 BC.
See, I mean, why would this man? What this man? He don't look like he black. I don't know. Nowadays, it's hard to tell. But the people who is down with the studies, man. There's some people who don't care about the agenda. They care about what their mission. And he, man, I'm telling you, it's just about shifting through the BS and the BS, the bullshit and the belief system.
Was not very different in its nature from that of contemporary African cultures. It is also ironic that one of Dr. Okenor's students was none other than Zahi Hawass. History, it seems, likes comedy. Add to this the studies that show that pre-dynastic Egyptians had L0F genetic markers showing they originated from Central Africa. And the numerous genetic studies show that the most predominant haplogroup in ancient Egypt is the E1B1A, also called M2, which is most prevalent in black Africans from West and Central Africa. This is in line with the multitude of ancient
Did y'all write that down?
showing they originated from Central Africa. And the numerous genetic studies show that the most predominant haplogroup in ancient Egypt is the E1B1A, also called M2, which is most prevalent in black Africans from West and Central Africa. This is in line with the multitude of ancient Egyptians' artifacts and contemporary pharaoh statues showing them as unmistakably black African. And they would continue the megalithic culture that they had initiated in the Levant 4,000 years before, and would perfect it to such a scale that it took until the end of the 19th century for a man-made structure to rival it in height. The ancient Egyptians' myth that the Greeks relate to us as the story of Atlantis tells us that there was a grandiose civilization that got wiped out 12,000 years ago, and that they migrated to ancient Egypt to restart their civilization. The interesting thing is that as much as this story is considered a myth, there are too many elements that coincide with verifiable archaeological research. The date coincides with the meltwater pulse 1b, when we had sudden major warming that caused water-related damage throughout the world. Researchers are now showing that this flood event was so violent that it would have hit civilization with such force that little to no trace would have survived. The genetics also match. There is black African genetic continuity between people of the ancient Sahara and that of Kemetu. Kamji.
So what you get where I'm going, right? The Sahara, y'all. The Sahara Desert. Unbelievable. All right. I've never considered that being Atlantis. I've never considered that. I mean, they don't excavate a lot of shit over there, or do they? I don't know, but do they? If they do, let me know.
Rivers has shown this in multiple research reviews. Here is one of the hundreds of studies that shows that Central Africans migrated 9,000 years ago to the ancient Sahara and then migrated to Egypt.
Before Egypt, the Sahara was the boom.
The location matches. The description matches,
Heard?
including how the port of Atlantis opened up to the southern seaport and the three rings of land. What's even more telling is that salt deposits can be found in the Rishat structure. Other similarities, such as the presence of black and red stones, both found near the eye.
You know how they said that it was a ring of land and stuff at the old Atlantis before it sank or whatever supposedly happened to it, the deluge, I don't know, dropped off in the ocean, whatever they say happened. But from everything I've seen, this I can see this making sense.
The presences of elephants, which has been confirmed to exist when the Sahara was green 12 to 6,000 years ago.
And 12 to 6,000 years ago, the Sahara was green. Ain't that something? I always found that fascinating.
In ancient Sahara, there are depictions of tropical animals, including elephants. We will do a separate episode on the possibility of Atlantis being in the Sahara. For now, even if the land described as Atlantis was not in North Africa, we have enough evidence to show that 1. Ancient Sahara was green, 2. Ancient Sahara was a large civilization with its own writing, agriculture, and sophisticated stone building, and 3. It was populated by black Africans, the same ones that migrated to ancient Egypt when the Sahara dried up. So before the Kemetu, that we call the ancient Egyptians before them, while the Sahara, there was a large and grandiose civilization that existed throughout the Sahara.
Yo, that I've never heard. Yo, that's crazy.
Researcher Babacar Sall states that, quote, ancient Sahara, the one before the desert, reaffirms its ethnic and cultural origin.
Hold on, Lost Fortress of Sahara revealed by satellites. Oh, I got to see this. Satellites, huh? Um,
Origins as black
that technician guy should be
African.
coming in a minute.
End quote. The people of ancient authors of
Now this I played Gilgamesh earlier the day, right? Man, I never considered these people actually. I mean, Billy Carson says they were all brown people. They were of black descent. I mean, black races. They wasn't white Caucasians. So, but the Stones, I used to think the Sumerians, all those were white people, but
and credited with the invention of the wheel and our method of timekeeping, their influence reverberates through the ages. For centuries, it was widely assumed that the ancient Sumerians bore a resemblance to the modern inhabitants of their region. However,
right.
the evidence shows that the Mesopotamia civilization was in fact a continuation of the Natufian culture, both in terms of its ethnic identity and its cultural inheritance. Contrary to popular belief, particularly the early Sumerians who laid the very foundations of their civilization, from script and religion to technological innovations such as the wheel, were in fact of black African.
Oh, that's Spectrum, y'all. Hello.
Hello, this is Spectrum. Para español, marque 8.
I wonder if he out front. I said hello.
Eclipse is on the way and is scheduled to arrive today, April 7th, between.
Okay, let me check out front. All right. Y'all can hang tight if I check. I'll be back. Get my phone. I'll be back. Here. It's like a little animal house around here. I don't see Spectrum out there. See the birds, the neighbor birds, and all that other stuff. Well, I'm gonna keep getting interrupted anyway. And I'm just I needed to get that information, get the wordings and those names. So I'll continue to get the rest. It's your girl Frankie, y'all. Make sure y'all keep studying, man. I'm not gonna stay much longer. Don't damn, it's been about an hour already. Don't forget, I have this event coming up out here in LA downtown, man. Y'all check that out. Go to the site, check that out. I will be popping in live periodically on on some shit like this because again, it's not enough time in the day, so I need to do it my way. All right. Be sure to go download the app. And get and if you know someone who's down who got film and doing some stuff, or want to network and do some business with me, send them my way. All right. Trying to load that up with some great content, not the regular stuff that you see, but well, let's talk about it. All right. It's your girl Frankie, baby, fantastic. Until next time, whatever y'all do, make sure you keep it and make it fantastic. Peace.